I'm Jane St. John, and I'm just going to talk to you really briefly about how our family supports our son Ben and how we use LifeCourse tools to really think about and do that. A little bit of background information. Work-wise, I work here at the Institute for Human Development at UMKC, and I work on the Missouri Family to Family team. I've been here about 14 years, and I do a variety of different things. I focus a lot on the LifeCourse, and I work on the National Community of Practice for supporting family staff. But what I'm going to talk to you more about today is my job as mom of Ben. He actually is one of 3 children. I have an older son who's almost 30. He'll be 30 this summer, which makes me feel really old. But he is a firefighter paramedic. He has a wife, Allie, who is also a paramedic and works in a local hospital. And then Ben has a twin brother named Matt, who is in his 3rd year now of studying to become a physical therapist. And so that's kind of our family. And then my husband, Tom, I forgot to talk about him. We've been married for a lot of years, 20-something years. And he's a great support for all the kids and for myself as well. Ben and his twin brother Matt were born 7 weeks prematurely, and Ben right away had a few complications, and at the age of 2 weeks, still in the hospital, Ben had a massive brain hemorrhage. It would be like having a massive stroke if you were an adult. If in fact he were an adult, it would have killed him, but because he was an infant and because his head still had the ability to expand, he was able to live, even though for a time doctors thought he might not. So as he grew and developed, the doctors actually didn't tell us what to expect. And that was they kind of did us a favor, because a lot of people get all the, hey, he'll never walk, he'll never talk, he'll never do this, he'll never do that. We didn't get that. They just told us to kind of wait and see. And so as he grew and developed, it became obvious after a while that he had some movement disorders. And so he was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. When he was 3, he started having grand mal seizures, and so he got the diagnosis of epilepsy and still takes medication to prevent seizures. When he started school, it became obvious pretty quickly that he could not attend to anything for more than a few seconds. So he had a lot of trouble paying attention and being able to do anything at school, and had a lot of kind of impulsive type behaviors. And so he was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. As he got older, he kept having these broken bones like in his foot or his leg or whatever, and we couldn't figure out why. And so they did some testing and found out he had osteoporosis, which is like brittle bone disease. You think of that for old people, but not for little kids with cerebral palsy. But because of the medications he was taking, because of the fact that he didn't bear weight the same as other kids might, he actually developed osteoporosis and had to take medication for that and has to watch his diet around that particular thing. He also developed scoliosis, which is a big curvature of the spine, and when he was about 13, had major surgery to put, kind of looks like the Eiffel Tower in his back. It's a series of rods and hooks and screws that basically help his back be straight and help him be able to eat and breathe and do all the things he likes to do in life. Ben has a lot of things going on. He also has a cognitive disability, so he doesn't learn at the same pace as other kids or other adults might. So he has lots of things that we had to think about, and lots of medical issues and things that we have to consider when we're supporting him. So I'm just going to share a few of the LifeCourse tools that we use to really think about Ben's supports and Ben's good life and his vision for the future and all of the things that we want to help him accomplish and that he wants to accomplish. This is a one-page profile. So a one-page profile really is just a quick glance at a person. So for Ben, this comes in handy. Maybe he has a new staff starting working for us. So, this would help them get to know Ben and to remember some really important things about him if they need to kind of have a cheat sheet. It also is important if maybe one of his friends that he hasn't gone out with for a while is going to take him out and do something fun. This is just kind of a reminder of some of the things that they need to keep in mind, to have a good experience with Ben. So we use it in lots of different ways. So we started with what people like and admire about Ben. Now, if you ask Ben, what do people like and admire about you? Again, that's kind of a hard question for any of us to answer. But for Ben, he would just kind of look at you and go, I don't know. He might tell you a couple things. He might tell you his tattoo. He might tell you that, he has a great smile. Hard telling what he would come out with any particular time that you ask him. So what we did was we looked at what we knew about Ben, first of all. We live with him every day. We've known him for 26 years. So we kind of know what we like and admire about him and what also other people have told us that they like and admire about him. The other thing we did was we talked to lots of different people that know Ben in lots of different settings. So people that he knows that he grew up with through school, people that he sees at church, people that he sees when he volunteers at the fire station, when he was in school, classmates of his. So people that knew him in different settings in different ways, and to see what they liked and admired about Ben. And so we came up with a pretty good list of things. The second thing is the what's important to Ben section. And again, he's going to tell you some things. He told us some things, like it's important to him to go to country music concerts. He loves to go see, George Strait and Tim McGraw and lots of different country music artists. So he will tell you that's important to him. He likes to watch NASCAR. Jeff Gordon has always been his favorite driver. He just retired. He'll tell you all about that. He'll tell you that he likes wrestling, he likes WWE, and he'll tell you about his favorite wrestlers. So he'll tell you some of those kind of things. Other things that we know are important to Ben, again, through friends and people that are acquaintances of him, but also because we really know him well, and through his actions and behaviors and kind of what lights him up. When you talk to someone and you mention something that they really like or that's really important, you can kind of tell by looking at them or by how they respond. So we know that it's important to him to be treated like other people. He doesn't want to look like he's different from other people, so we know that's important to him. We know that his friends and his family is very important to him. We know that going to the fire station and volunteering there and seeing all of his friends there is very important to him. We know that Pepsi is very important to him. He likes it a lot. So those are some of the things that he would tell you. He also likes our Excelsior Springs Tigers. He's always volunteered with the football team and goes to basketball games and all those type of local things that we do. So those are some of the things that he likes and that we know that are very important to him. So those are the things that we added on there. This is the really important section, I think, for me as a mom, how to best support Ben. These are the things that people need to know to keep him safe or to help him have a really good day. So some of the things that I like to tell people about and that are included on here is that Ben has a short-term memory issue. So I could go home this evening and ask him, what did you do today, Ben? And I'm probably going to get a blank look and an I don't know, I don't remember. What'd you have for lunch? Don't know. So unless something really epic happens during his day, he kind of needs reminders of what he did during the day so that we can actually have a conversation with him about his day. And that's something that's important to us, and we want to have that kind of discussion with him. Everybody does that. How was your day? What did you do? So we want to have that same type of discussion with Ben at the end of the day. Another thing that's really important to know about Ben is that he gets turned around very easily. He gets confused. So if you're in a movie theater and he goes to the bathroom and somebody's not there to kind of help him find his way back, he may get turned around and go into the wrong theater or go into the wrong row or not be able to find his way back. When we go to church, he gets turned around very easily. So if he goes up for communion and is coming back and nobody's there to kind of help guide him, if he sees a friend or somebody that he knows, he's going to start heading for them, and then he's going to forget where he was sitting and forget to come back. So we know that it's important to kind of help him with wayfinding and that type of thing. We want people to know that he gets tired very easily. It's hard for him just to stand or to walk for long periods of time. So like if you take him to Walmart or to the grocery store, if you let him push the cart, he kind of leans on that and it helps stabilize him and give him something to hold on to. And so that's something that you would need to know if you were going to be out and about with him very much. So those are some of the things that are just really important to know about Ben and that we have kind of all on one short, easy to read, fast page so that people can know those facts about him pretty easily. Now I'm going to talk to you about Ben's life trajectory and how we completed the worksheet using feedback from Ben and some of his supporters. So Ben's vision for a good life. Again, if you ask Ben, his communication skills are somewhat limited, so we have to kind of, ask him lots of different types of questions and then also go on our own knowledge of Ben. So some of the things that we know that are important to Ben, again, are his family and friends. He likes to get tattoos. He has a real tattoo. He advocated for that for many, many months, even a couple of years before we finally got that accomplished. He's now planning, again, his good life includes getting more tattoos. So he wants something with flames. He hasn't figured out what it is yet, but it's going to have flames on it. So again, important to Ben. Ben's good life also includes going on vacations. He loves going on vacations with his family. He'd like to have a girlfriend. He likes going to concerts, likes going to wrestling matches, live wrestling matches. He likes going to NASCAR races. He likes having money so that he can buy the things that he wants. He likes music a lot, so he likes to buy CDs. Even though you can download the music, he still likes having the physical CD in his hands. He likes going to church. He likes the Royals. He likes good food, Pepsi. He likes to have the occasional beer. And he likes working out so he can be healthy and fit. Not so much that he likes that as much as we like it for him. So it's kind of a mixture of what his good life is and what the family, thinks will help him have that good life. So just being honest on that one. So we also have to think about what are the things that are not a good life for Ben. So what are the things that we want to try to avoid? Because what we want to try to do is point his trajectory and help him have life experiences that will help him have a good life. And we want to make sure that we're not doing things that will point him towards things that he doesn't want in his life. So the things that he doesn't want, and again, this is stuff that's really hard to articulate for Ben, so we kind of have to put the words into place for him. Not having any money, being poor, living in poverty, having poor health. My husband and I, we both have some health issues in our families, diabetes, heart disease, those type of things. So we want to help Ben be healthy and avoid those things that would affect his quality of life down the road. We don't want him to have a guardian. We want him to be his own person. We don't want him to be isolated or segregated. We don't want him to be living in like a large congregate facility, like an institution or a group home. And he doesn't like to be treated differently. We know that because when he was in school, when he was very young, he would be included in the classroom, but sometimes his work might be a little bit different from what the other kids were doing. And so if the other kids had a handout that had math problems on it, say, Ben had to have a handout that had math on it as well and had to look fairly similar, because if what he was doing didn't look like what the other kids were doing, he would express his displeasure with that. So we were able to know from that and help him advocate for things looking the same, not being different from other people. So that was really important to him, and it's also important to us. So let's look at Ben's life trajectory and how we helped him think about that as a family and helped him fill that out. So we've already talked about what his good life is: friends, families, doing the fun stuff that he likes, going on vacation, getting tattoos, volunteering at the fire station, being involved with the football team and the basketball team at school, having good food, having his Pepsis, going to baseball games, all those kind of things. Things that he wants to avoid: poor health, heart disease, diabetes, all those kind of things, being segregated, being treated differently. So we know that we want to help him have life experiences that will help him get the things he wants for his good life and to avoid the things that he doesn't want that would make his life not good. So when we think about his past life experiences, so if you're looking at the life trajectory tool, we start with his age. So you see the little blue icon on the page. Underneath of that, you write the age of the person. So at the time we filled this out, Ben was 25. He just recently turned 26. So on the left of that, we think about his past life experiences. The top part of the box are his life experiences that we feel like helped him get towards his good life that he's thinking about, what a good life is for him. So it helped his trajectory move in a positive direction towards his good life. The stuff on the bottom, in the box on the bottom, are things that kind of help push him towards things that he didn't want or we didn't want for him. So some of Ben's life experiences that were really positive, growing up he had chores. We always knew that we wanted someday for him to think about having a job or having some sort of employment experience. And so we felt like at a young age he needed to learn about chores. It was also important to his brothers who had chores to make sure that they weren't getting treated differently than their brother was. So if they had chores and he didn't, they were going to call us out on it. So we made sure that Ben had chores around the house. He was involved in Boy Scouts. In fact, he became an Eagle Scout, and that was something that really helped him learn a lot of good skills, make a lot of social connections, and really helped him towards his good life. He had a bike to ride. It was an adapted bike, but he wanted to be able to do the things that the other neighborhood kids did and that his brothers did. So he had a bike that was adapted so he could ride like other kids did. He went to birthday parties, went on vacations. He learned how to use a debit card. He doesn't really understand the concept of money itself very well, but he was able to use a card to access his bank and make purchases at Walmart and grocery stores and at restaurants and those type of things. So those were some very positive experiences. Being included in school was a very positive experience. He helped with the football team all throughout his high school career. He was the homecoming king. So all of these things were things that were very positive and helped him towards his good life. Some of the things that didn't, having low expectations. Sometimes people didn't think he could do things because of his disability, and that was negativity that we had to really work around and get back on track with the good life expectations. One of the things that I thought was a good thing at the time, and I've learned since, sometimes you look back and see things differently. I fought very hard from the time that he started kindergarten that he should have a paraprofessional, an aide basically in school by his side all the time. So all throughout his school career, he had an adult basically glued to his side, helping him do things throughout the day. They would help him make sure he got where he needed to go. They would help him with his schoolwork. They would help, with whatever he needed help with, if he needed help finding the bathroom or help with his lunch or whatever. And he did need that kind of help for part of the day, but he didn't really need that all the time. So if you think about it, we really wrapped the supports around him very tightly, and it had the potential to cut him off from the other kids. Think about being in school, especially middle or high school. What kid wants to hang out with the kid that has an adult with them, right? So we were very fortunate that he had a really cool para that the kids liked and that didn't really cause as much of a separation as it could have, but it could have been something that was not a kid magnet at all, but it actually would repel the kids from being around him. The other thing that it did was it created dependency. It created dependency for Ben that he always had a helper by his side. The kid never spent any time on his own. If he was at home, one of us were always there. If he was at school, he always had that paid paraprofessional, that aide by his side at all times. And so he was very used to always having somebody and never spent any time alone. Well, that becomes a problem as you become an adult and you start thinking about, can this person stay by themselves for 10 or 15 minutes or an hour? And so we've had to work really hard to build Ben's skills to be able to do that. It also created dependency for us as his family because we were afraid for him to be by himself. He had always had somebody with him. He always had paid staff with him. So when he became an adult, of course, we had that same expectation. And we've had to work really hard to teach ourselves that he doesn't necessarily need a person with him all the time to be supporting him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So again, that created dependency. At the time, it was a good thing. He needed it for some of the day, but he didn't need it all the time. So that kind of became a negative. Some of the other negative experiences that he had, he has lots of health issues, seizures, scoliosis, having cerebral palsy, and the physical barriers that comes with it. So those are things that we've had to work around and help him to keep his trajectory pointed in a positive way and not let those things point him towards things that he doesn't want in his life. Now, the next thing you do, once you've really thought about what the past life experiences were, good and bad, you want to think about, well, what are we going to do from here on? And that could be for the next week, it could be for the next year, it could be a 5-year plan. You can create that however you want. We try to think in chunks of like a year or two at a time. So we know that Ben wants to keep volunteering at the fire station. That's something we want to continue for him. We would like to find more volunteer opportunities for him so he can try different things and maybe learn about different kinds of jobs and what people do and learn some new skills and that kind of thing. It's important that he work out regularly because we found out really quickly that if he doesn't go to the gym, for long periods of time, he very quickly puts weight on around the middle, which is a big health risk with heart disease and diabetes. Going out with friends, he made a lot of friends through school, and we want to make sure that he's able to keep in touch with those friends and keep in contact with them and still do stuff with them. So those are some of the things that we want to make sure continue. For the future, we would like to explore a micro enterprise, which is basically him starting a small business of his own and what that would look like. So, we're letting him try lots of different kinds of things and seeing what he likes and what would tie into his interests, because we don't want to start a business of something that maybe is not interesting to him, because then he's not going to want to do it every day. So that's something that we're thinking about for the future. We want to make sure that he has a paid staff that comes in and is there during the day while we're at work, and we want to make sure that he's just not sitting around on the couch. We don't want him to become a couch potato, so it's important for him to be out and about doing things during the day. So those are the positive things that we would like to continue into the future. Some of the things that we want to avoid, some of those are just the opposite of what we just said. Sitting at home watching TV all day, that's not a good life. That's not going to lead him to do the things that he wants to do down the road. Relying too much on paid supports, gaining too much weight. For Ben, that would be very important because he likes to wear suits. And so if he gains too much weight, he won't fit into a suit. And so that's kind of his motivator to go work out during the week. So those are some of the things, being healthy and avoiding, he likes to drink Pepsi, but drinking too much Pepsi also is bad for his bones. As I said earlier, he's had osteoporosis, so we have to think about too much caffeine and those kind of things. So not the fun stuff that he wants to think about, but we also want him to have good health so his quality of life will continue well into old age. So that's how we really think about Ben's life trajectory. Next, we're going to look at Ben's integrated support star and how we use the integrated supports to look at all the different things Ben has available to him to work towards his good life. When we really think about Ben's supports, he has some paid supports, but that's not the only thing that we want to rely on. We want to think about all the different types of supports around the star that Ben might have available to him. Started with relationships. Who does he know? Who does he have a relationship with? We were very lucky because Ben was included in school and he had something called a circle of friends. So he had about 10 or 12 kids that went through school with him, and they were in the same class with him all throughout elementary school. And then in middle and high school, they also were included in a lot of the same classes that he was, so that they could help him get to know other kids and just kind of be comfortable. And it was really cool because a lot of those kids were the cool kids. So when new kids would come into the school or when they went to middle school and you combine 3 elementary schools, he had a group of kids who helped all those new kids get to know him and realize that it was okay to hang out with him and that he was cool and that he was fun to be around just like anybody else. They served a great purpose in his life as he was growing up. As he's become a young adult, a lot of those kids are still in his life. He sees them at church. One of them works at the fire station where he volunteers. We see them out and about in the community. Some of them occasionally will call and say, hey, I thought about taking Ben to a movie. Would that be okay? So we want to make sure that, we keep him in touch with all those people. So we started listing all the people in his life. So we had a lot of family on there, a lot of the kids that he grew up with, friends he's made as adults, people he's known through Scouts all of his life, people he knows through the football team that he volunteers with at school. So relationships, he had a pretty good bank of people there that we could really think about when we needed to think about how to support Ben in different ways. We also wanted to think about his personal strengths and assets. So what are some of his skills and abilities, things that he does well, or things that we might want him to learn to do more, to do better? And what are some of the assets that he actually owns? So for instance, if for some reason we decide to buy him a car, even though he may not be able to drive the car, that would be an asset that he has that a friend or a staff could drive him around in that car. So that would be a personal asset. Some of the other things that we listed there for Ben, he has a very outgoing personality. People really like him. When he gets to know you, he's your friend for life, and he's a lot of fun to be around. He likes to smile and laugh and tell jokes. He's very friendly, even though when you first meet him, he might not look right at you. Once he gets to know you, he's very friendly and he's easy to be around. He's an Eagle Scout. That opens a lot of doors. That helped him learn a lot of skills. He can ride our city bus. We live in a small town, and as part of his school transition program, he learned to ride the bus around town. So that's a good asset for him for transportation. Being well known kind of helps with his safety in the community. So those are all the things that we listed for his personal assets and strengths. Now, when we got to technology, we did this for the first time probably a couple of years ago. We realized when we got to technology, we weren't doing a very good job. There were some deficits there that we needed to kind of fill in some things. So we knew that he had a digital watch because he doesn't really tell time on an analog clock at all. So while he was still in school, we got him a big digital watch with big numbers on it that he could see, and he can tell time with that. That's technology. It's not high technology, but it is technology. He has a vibrating toothbrush. You can get them at the store for like $5. For Ben, it helps him get his teeth clean without a lot of assistance. So that's assistive technology that he uses. He wears glasses. That's assistive technology as well. He doesn't see well without them. But some of the things that we weren't doing that now we have added to his bank of things we can draw on, he didn't have an iPad. So we got him an iPad and helped him learn how to use that. He didn't need a lot of help. He figured it out pretty quickly on his own, but that was something that we'd never really thought about for him. We're helping him learn to use a smartphone, and again, that's something we're still working on. He has a desire to call 911 a lot, so we've been working on not calling 911 and how we can help him avoid doing that when it's not appropriate. And then we also got him on Facebook. Because as I said earlier, he made a lot of friends in school, and it's really hard for anybody when you become an adult to keep in touch with the friends that you made in high school. So Facebook was a really easy way for him to connect with some of those folks that maybe he hadn't seen for a while. In the community, what are the things in the community that anybody could access that Ben also accesses that help add to his support picture? Things like riding the local bus. We call it the omnibus in our town. Some towns have the Oats bus, but anyway, he's able to ride that bus by himself. He's well known and likes to go to Walmart and Price Chopper and the library. He would go to the library every single day if he could get somebody to take him there. He goes to church in the community. He volunteers at the fire department, which is a community organization. He uses the bank for different things. So again, he had some eligibility-based supports. And when I say eligibility supports, really that means anything that you might be eligible for, whether it's because you have a disability, whether it's because you have a certain income level, many different things. So things like food stamps, Section 8 housing, HUD housing, are things that people might be eligible for. So for Ben, he's eligible for services through the Division of Developmental Disabilities, so he gets a personal care attendant that is with him during the day while we work to help him do all the things he needs to do and wants to do in his life. He also has Social Security, he has Medicaid, and he has a special needs trust. We just looked at Ben's Integrated Support Star. As I said before, we want to make sure and use all different kinds of supports to help Ben move towards his good life. These are the LifeCourse tools we're using to help support Ben as he moves towards the good life that he wants. We revisit them from time to time when we have to solve a problem or when we're working on something new. To download your own LifeCourse tools or to explore the LifeCourse framework further, visit lifecoursetools.com.